はい、続いてのタイトルですが、スクービードゥナイト・オブ、100フライトですかね。こちらの方は解説の方いらっしゃいませんので、ゲームのわかるという方は飛び入りで入っていただいても全然構いませんし、チャットの方で解説とかしていただいても構いませんので、よろしくお願いします。
Scooby-Doo, The Night of 100 Frights, Speedrun by Jaxler.
これは、日本で発売されてなさそうなタイトルですかね。あ、画面来ましたね。
Alright, I'll take that as our cue to start. Hello, everybody. My name is Jaxler, and this is going to be a run of Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights, any percent. We're going to be doing the no CE route, which we'll explain what that means when we get there. But before we start, I'd like to introduce
奏者の方、後ろ、結構、ぬいぐるみがありますね。ポケモンかなあれは。
This is pretty fun run. I'll let Snowy.
Did you say your name again?
犬が主人公っぽいですね、このゲーム。スクービードゥー。
I'm a fellow runner of this game, been running it for a while, and so I'll pass it over to Snowy.
Hi, I'm Snowy Moogle, and I also
犬めっちゃ手掴んでますけど。
So yeah, maybe help you out on the mic because this game is like really, really technical. I know the game, like the name of the game, wouldn't suggest it, but there's a lot of stuff going on in this run. We don't have a lot of time to talk about it, so I'm gonna need all the help I can get. But just one thing we'll note briefly before we begin is that we're going to be doing this run on the GameCube version of the game, which won't come into play until roughly, I'd say, like 15-20 minutes into the run. Well, not, yeah, 15 or so. I don't remember. New route. Confusing. Anywho, alright, we're just going to go ahead and start time in 3, 2, 1, and go.
Good luck this.
So I'm going to be quiet here for just a second so I can listen when to skip to this cutscene, and then we'll start explaining what's going on with this game. There we go. Okay, so if you've never seen or heard of this game before, this is a 3D Metroidvania that was released in 2002 by Heavy Iron Studios. They were the same people who made
これはクッキーですかね。
SpongeBob Movie Game and a couple other
タイヤ掴んでるのすごいな。このタイヤはどこから紐が出てるんだろう。
You're going to see me collect a bunch of Scooby snacks. These are required for snack gates, which are kind of placed at certain spots and levels to get your progress until you've kind of explored enough. So we will be game stole my jump there. So we will be skipping some of those gates throughout the run, but we have to go out of our way in some spots in order to grab extra snacks. So that's why we're here right now.
Yeah, definitely seems like we're spending the first minute of the run literally going out of our way to get snacks. Trust us, it is very much
クリア条件は多分キー集めることですかね。これは。
That one's really inexpensive. It's only 25, but some of the snack gates go as high as like 850 later on in the game. So as a result,
プラットフォームとしては、今回走られてるのはゲームキューブらしいですけど、PS2 と Xbox でも出てるそうです。
Probably not supposed to do this, but with a well-timed single jump right there.
There we go. Yeah, so essentially what's going on there is, and right here as well, is there's a lot of abuse of the game's super lenient coyote frame system. Essentially, there's a lot of surfaces in the game that are enough of a slope to give you your double jump back, so that's kind of what we're doing in there a bit.
Yeah, and you'll see that used throughout the run for a bunch of tricks that we're gonna do, especially once we get kind of the double jump and we can abuse
情
that
報ありがとうござ
extra
います。
height a
ス
little
クービー
bit
ドゥを
more.
操作して、
And we'll use it to skip a couple key areas of the game.
ギャングを探すスクービードゥを中心に展開するストーリー。
We're not going to explain like how the movement in this game works quite yet because it won't make much sense in this level. But this is sort of the start of a bunch of cycle-based levels. So every level in this game has its own global cycle to it, and most enemies and a lot of obstacles and platforms all operate off a unique global cycle. So as long as we go at a consistent speed through the level every time, we know where everything will be. So right there, I know exactly how to pass through those rats right there so that I don't take a hit. And then those rats line up in a nice place so that when I staircase up here, I'll just be able to get straight up. And that was like a 38, so that was pretty good. Baz, do you want to explain rubber band skip?
Yeah, so up here in this room, we're going to do a trick called Rubber Band Skip. You're supposed to swing on Shaggy, and he gives this great line about knowing what a rubber band feels like. But we don't want to know what that feels like, so we're just going to do a single jump, and we're going to skip that completely, get the snacks, and move on.
Cool. So a lot of scenery abuse going on here. There's like a lot of like crates. In general,
とにかくクッキー
stuff
は
like that
全部取っていきますね。
Okay, so got there on a little bit of an off cycle, so I took an intentional hit there so I could just run straight through the caveman. These hook cycles are also based on like the opening global cycle, but depending on like any little movement flub that you have, they can be in a different position. So you kind of have to do it a lot to get used to the different cycles that can be there. So
This game is a lot of like we're going out of our way to get stacks. We're trying to be fast. At the same time, we're also trying to make cycles. So there's a lot going on in pretty much every
Yeah.
level in this game.
Okay. One for Nintendo
クッ
trick
キー
right
が
here.
置かれてる理由がわかんないですね。
Ah, I missed it. Okay,
いや、
so I
コ
was
インと
going
か
for
なら
something
まあ
there
まだ
called
しも。
first strat. There is a 2-frame window when loading into this level
まあまあ、
where
その辺
you
は。
can unstick yourself from the
あ、
target.
ゴール
I
通れ
can't
ないん
jump
です
right
ね。
now,
ク
and
ッ
I'm
キー
kind
が
of
ない
slower
と。
walking speed. But if you jump within 1 to 2 frames of the level loading, you can actually avoid that and land on a crate and jump around a bit more. But the whole point of coming out here was to get the double jump. Believe it or not, this game is actually kind of like a 3D Metroidvania. So we sort of the general theme of the game is you go around, find a power up that unlocks access to a new area. So we get the double jump right there, and then we immediately death warp, which puts us right by the door. So we don't have to walk through all the tar again.
Yeah, and there are.
And these springs are gonna. You'll see.
Yeah, Snowy, go ahead.
Yeah, you'll see these springs will give us access to our next section. And yeah, like Baz was saying, like we out of all the power-ups in the game, there's like 10 or so. In the any percent run, we will only be getting like 4 of them. We pretty much only get what we need to beat the final boss.
Yeah.
And so basically because of that, these 4 inventions are the key to basically every category in this game. The key to the whole game, really, is if you can get these, you can get basically anything else in the game in any order you want it to.
Yeah, it's crazy how much you can like break open this game if you know what you're doing. So going into the hedge maze here, I guess it's
取るときになんか食べる音がしてるんで、食べ物であることは多分間違いないと思いますけど。
It makes you run faster than normal running speed, but there is a catch to it. At the beginning of the animation, you actually move a bit slower than your base running speed. So in order to capitalize on the charge movement, you actually have to make sure that you have enough space in order to get the full animation going. Otherwise, you can actually lose time by using the charge. So one of the big things in learning the movement of this game is learning where you need to start a good charge so that you can get maximum movement out of them. I was going for a little bit of another slope jump right there. Oh, okay.
Still got one anyway.
Yeah.
ショートカットっぽいことしましたけど。
So,
ワンちゃん
there
2段
was
ジャンプができる。
rather big route change that actually happened recently. We used to get a bunch of extra backup snacks here and do something here called bridge jump, but I'm actually going to be avoiding that. I think this is going to be the first marathon where we show off like a completely new snack route that it technically only stays like 10 seconds, but it'll look way cooler once we get to the cliff levels.
Oh yeah, this route is, we call it the swag route because of the trick Jax is gonna do here in about a minute.
Yeah, you'll get to see.
めっちゃ掘ってますけど。
Baz, do you want to explain the trick I'm
何
about
だ
to
っ
do
たんだ
over
今の
head?
Okay, so this is the first major break from like the casual playthrough. Usually you just keep going through the hedge levels, but we're gonna die here, and if you saw that gate in the background the first time through, Jax here, he's gonna clip through this gate, which basically puts us to like the very middle of the game, like 5 minutes into the game. And so we're gonna use that to go backwards through these Skull Cliff levels to skip going through all of the Hedge Maze levels, which skips 2 snack gates and like 5 levels.
Yeah. There's normally like a big auto scroller that you have to go through where you ride on the back of a lawnmower.
A lawnmower?
Yeah, I was like a mowing machine. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
But yeah, it just so happens that these levels over here happen to spit you out in the same level you get that next Metroidvania upgrade, so that's why we're coming through this way. All right, who wants to take a stab at what I'm about to do here?
Okay, so in this game there are what are known as void warps, where if you can get out of bounds enough, the game will spit you out at the quote-unquote start of the level. So using Jaxler, he's going to be doing a bunch of precise jumps and movement here so that he can get out of bounds. And again, remember that we were going
横
through the
スクロー
scope
ル
of
は
levels
確かに
afterwards.
クラッシュバンディク
So
っぽい気が
when
する
he
んです
gets
よ
out of
ね。
bounds enough, the game will
なん
spit
か
him
変
out
なとこ
at
通って
the
ますが。
actual start of the level. And right here,
Looks like we're good.
Jaxler-
Nice, we got it. Okay, cool.
he just skipped
成
like
功したんですね、
probably
今
the
のは。
longest level in any percent, right there.
But interestingly enough, even though that skip saves a boatload of time, it actually, in the course of this category, saves only 10 seconds. And the reason being is that by doing that skip, we skip so many snacks that we have to go into some levels you don't normally see in any percent in order to make them all back up. But those are also really cool as well, so that's part of the reason why it's called the swag up. But these next couple levels are pretty straightforward. I'm going to be doing some like charge momentum conservation across a couple different platforms. So if you got any like donations or messages that you want to plug right now would be a pretty good time.
Awesome. Well, we do have a $50 donation from Nikono, who says, I think of a better way to spend my money than to help people stay fed during this pandemic. Amen to that.
Thank you so much for your donation.
And I would just like to note real quick, the bonus any percent run for Morrowind has been met.
Yo, let's go. Thanks, everybody. Alright, so Snow, do you want to explain
今の左の大穴みたいなと
Oh
こ
yeah, in
ろ、
Skull
ま
1,
だ
Jax is going to be doing a pretty scary ledge jump. But don't worry, he will be okay. So it turns out just on that wall, you can jump off of it. No need to worry, skip a platform cycle. But in addition to that, these like boards up ahead, he's just gonna kind of climb up those pretty quickly. You're not really intended to jump off of those, but they have
今の
collisions and
は
it works
どうだ
out.
ろう。
And
ちょっと怪しそうで
like
し
we
た
were
けど。
mentioning earlier, now we are at the end of the Hedge Maze, where the next Metroidvania power-up is.
Yeah, so at this point, right here, I'm actually doing a bit of a manipulation. So that zombie right there will start moving towards you to attack you once you get close enough. So I manipulate him by using specifically placed charges in order to delay his attack so I can get by kind of safely. If I went fast enough here and I start a charge right about here, I can cruise around that rock while maintaining a charge. So like I said, you want to avoid like stopping your charge part of the way through, otherwise you're just going to end up losing speed. So right there, I have to go fast enough to make sure I can maintain a charge right there. Doing some more jumps off the rocks because you just can. And then we'll grab the helmet up at the top and then break open a crate for some more snacks. And then
Should we start explaining? Sorry, Galoshes,
oh
because
yeah,
it'll go
so
by
I'm gonna
really,
take another
really
death for
fast.
it. Yeah, go for it, Snowy.
So normally at this point you're supposed to go through the
そうですね。
manor,
画面ちょっ
and
と
then you
暗い
fight the
です
first
ね。
boss of the game to get into the fishy clues levels. And the power up you get at the end of manor would give you access to
多
fishy
分こうい
clues.
うゲームなんで
However,
しょうけ
the
ど。
invisible wall they put there to block you from getting in early is just a little bit too low, and that's about like a quarter of the game skipped right there.
Yep.
And right here is also where another new route for any person
で
came
工場
into
みたい
play
なところに
recently on the Xbox version.
来ました。
And so that's why most people haven't run it. And it allows you to skip all of these fishy clues levels and all of the coast levels after this, and saves about 8 minutes off of an already like 25-minute run. So
Yeah.
it's
It's
super
pretty insane.
fast.
That's actually where the CE or no CE comes from.
Yeah,
in the any
so-
percent run. But
Yeah, by showing you all this category, you get to see all these really cool levels, like the previous one, which we didn't have much time to explain, but might honestly be the single hardest screen in the entire run, just because of the way that momentum is conserved through the conveyor belts, if you will. Snowy, you usually like to talk about snacks here,
Oh.
so I'll let you do your thing.
Yeah. Fishy 2 here is actually one of my favorite levels in the run, just showing off the uniqueness of how this game works. So with the cycle, with the way the cycles
2D の
work
と
in
ころは
Fishy
結構
2,
難しそうで
Jax
すね。
is never gonna directly lose or save time in the level. However, he's gonna be trying to make all these cycles while also trying to get as many of these snacks as possible. And with the way snacks work, If he
なんか
misses
ドクロ
20
マークの
snacks, he'll have to get some slower
鍵
snacks
が溜
later
まっていっ
on.
てます
Or
け
if he
ど。
has a lot of snacks, maybe he can skip some snacks he'd normally get. So Fishy 2 is literally a level all about
鍵
getting
4
as
本
many
目。
snacks as you can while making these cycles. And it's really interesting because, again, he's never going to directly save or lose time, but because of his snack collection, he might save or
Yeah,
lose time
I'm prob-
later in the run.
I'll just say right now, we're probably gonna lose time. Just marathon nerves, missed a couple of snacks I normally don't there, but it's not a huge deal.
So
Alright,
here we're gonna do a little skip also to jump up these platforms without having to wait for them, and then we're gonna jump the gap and get to the other side of this level without having to go like around this annoying maze of spinning platforms, and it saves just some slow
Yeah, I think
snack,
it's like a
slow
20-second
movement.
save.
スナックめっちゃ貯めますね。もう850とかなんですけど。どこまで貯めればいいんだろう。
Just because a lot of these conveyors work in your favor here, so you just get to go really fast. You skip one of them with a little bit of a scary looking jump right there. Cool. Nice, okay. So this is kind of one of those threshold points where I'm looking at my snack count to see where I should be at right now. I'm going to be going in at
お、
like
ここで
which I think is on
使いましたね。
Again,
スナ
this
ッ
is
クを。
kind of a newer route, so I'm still getting used to where my snacks need to be, but that's looking pretty good. That was like a
半分くらい減
241
りましたね。
on the segment timing for that, so do your math as for your split method, but
That's really good.
yeah, we'll take it. Alright, cool. So this is mostly just grabbing snacks. Right after this is probably like the hardest sequence of levels in a row in the whole game. The Coast for some Ghost levels. First one probably being the hardest, but I'll let y'all.
食ってたのを吐き出したのかはちょっと面白い
So,
な。
yeah, actually,
いや
before we
まあ
get
確
into
か
the
にど
level
うやって
itself,
持ってる
I'll
んだって
explain
話ですけど。
Scooby's charge. Jax has done it a couple times in the run already, but when Scooby does his charge attack, his hitbox becomes extremely narrow, and it's so narrow to the point where enemies actually can't hurt you. You'll see the caveman right up ahead here. Jax would normally get hit, but because he's charging, the caveman just doesn't hit him. And we'll
いやー、
definitely
フ
see
ル
him
コン
use
プレンス
that
と
a
かあるんです
lot
かね、こ
in
れ。
the upcoming levels here. And we're also going to see him go for a pretty precise cutscene skip right here.
Got it. Let's
The
go.
cut that's really
Oh,
that's a lot
skip
harder than it
point.
looks. The cutscene trigger there is very high up. Definitely not the like easiest trick when you're learning this game, and it saves like 10-ish seconds.
Yeah, there's
4
an
seconds.
easier method where you can death warp while the cutscene is playing, but it kind of messes up some of the enemy cycles later, so no one really likes to go for it anymore. Yeah, cool. Okay, I should also mention that you're not supposed to get those snacks I grabbed up there until you get the plunger's power up as part of the Metroidvania path. But you can kind of just jump up there. It's really not that big of a deal.
変える
So
変え
I'm
る
gonna
かなこ
explain
れは。
the kind of manip I'm doing here.
Okay, so right here.
Oh snap! I actually got the fast minute. Yeah, go ahead.
so-
Sorry.
So that fish is a pain in the butt. It likes to eat you whenever it gets close to you, and it can make you do a damage animation, which loses about 2 seconds each time you get hit, and sometimes you can get hit like 2 or 3 times. So getting that manip that Jax got was really good.
Also, right here again, Scooby has an extremely narrow hitbox when he's charging, so Jax can just schmoove around all those enemies and make a make what's called zero cycle here. So it's getting through these boxes as fast as possible, and that was a beautiful coast
Yeah,
too.
that's like a 142 segment. This is really. I might gold this. We'll see. Alright, so Fishy 3 has a really cool strat. So coming up here, you're going to see a bunch of lines of snacks over what we call the coast boats. That is normally part of a secret for that monster token over there that you can't get until the Super Smash ability, which is actually what we're going to grab in just a little bit. But I'm going to do something really cool here in order to get all those snacks early and save a
あ
ton of like,
ダメージ
stuff. So
ブー
right
スト
here,
というか、
I'm taking intentional
無
damage
敵時
so I
間
can become Great Dane Jesus for about a second and a
無敵時
half.
間を利用して
That
無
allows
効
me
岸
to
に
actually walk on water so I can get over here without having the Super Smash power up. So interesting thing to note here, I'm going to be doing a bit of a scary jump. This is actually free on the 1.1
500
version
必要。
of the GameCube disc.
あ、だいぶ持
There's
って
an
かれましたね。
fishnet for some reason there that got patched out of the 1.1 disc, which is what I'm playing on. So that can be easier or harder as well depending on the version you play. But we are out of coast, and that was pretty good, so happy with no deaths there.
So now this is which way. This level is super straightforward. You basically just go through it straight forward. You go into the cave down here. Or
I
not?
actually, well, no, I don't. I actually started going for a bit of a different route here, where instead of going through here, I go up here, grab the snacks, and then turn back around. It's one of those weird sort of personal
エ
preference
ニー
things
パーセント
because
オー
it
ルボ
saves
ス
a little bit of
100% に
time
加えて
in the short
ワー
run,
プレ
but
ス
it
リバー
does
スもそう
cost
だ
some
結構
snacks
カ
to
テゴ
go
リーありま
for.
すね
So it's one of those judgment calls that you have to make. Based on my snack count, I decided that it was worth it. It's about like 4 or 5 snacks that you give up if you don't go into the lower pit. So Snowy, do you want to explain some of what I'm doing here?
Yeah, so Jax is doing some. So when you hit that button there, that actually sends the light to the top of the lighthouse, and that light actually contains our next Metroidvania power-up. And we're supposed to be racing it to the top, but it is fastest to actually hit the button right away and then collect all those snacks. So you're gonna see once again, Jax is gonna be doing some charges around these enemies, and just he can't get hit because he is charging. And also just making sure his head doesn't hit the enemies, because that'll count as attacking the enemies, and it plays an animation, and it wastes like a second each time.
Yeah. Oh,
Power
but,
up.
okay,
Luckily-
so, yeah, you can judge how well you went through that if you can see the door closing on your way up here. That was really sick. But yep, so we got the Super Smash Power. It's a ground pound that lets us break some surfaces and access new areas. But importantly for us, it's going to let us go access the end of the game. But like I said, this is kind of a new route, so instead of just going straight to the end of the game, we're going to go take a detour into some levels that you're actually not supposed to be able to access until after you beat the Green Ghost boss fight. But we're going to be doing something kind of cool there.
And so this game already had like a notoriously
Oh.
hard end game.
ショートカットしま
Like,
したね
that's
多
where
分
almost
今のはショート
everyone's
カットでしょ
runs would commonly die. Like we
Yeah.
have it. We call it the gauntlet of skips, and this new route just adds even more onto it that makes
Yeah.
it extremely hard.
Yeah, and you'll get to see why we call it the swag route, because there's a lot of stuff you're going to see me go for that like you only really see in like all
この
bosses.
クッキーが結構
Okay,
数が
right
多い
here,
か
I'm
ら
gonna go for a
爽快感は
very
結
tight,
構あり
double
ますね
jump ground pound to land on the boat. Cool. That's usually used to exit through there, and we just make our way to Wreck on the Deck 1. So, if someone wants to set, Baz, if you want to kind of like set up for the skip I'm gonna do after I grab all these snacks.
Like a couple levels and some of the worst levels in the game, and get to a gas slurry to get to Redbeard. But what we can do here is there's a door to that level, and we can jump on this crow's nest early, and then we can jump over the invisible wall and just get into the level
Oh, I missed
early.
it. Okay. Gonna try
Jax
something
missed
again.
it there.
Well, there goes PB.
これもショートカットで
I
す
wasn't
ね
expecting it. There we go. Yeah, I'm used to doing that with the umbrella, so
So now we just like it's intended to be a shortcut from the very end of the ship levels to the first one,
おお
but we're just using that not in
上
the
の方
intended
に
way.
強引
So
に
now
登
we're
っ
at
た
the
感
very
じで
end
す
of
ね
the ship levels,
Nice.
and a gas 3 is actually like one of the highest snacks per second in a level in the game, which is
Yeah.
why it's very much worth it to go out of our way here.
yeah, you actually saw me. Okay, this is gonna be interesting. So I'm gonna have to orphan some snacks here because like the jumps between that you have to. So we're doing like these jumps between the life preservers backwards. So you actually saw me do a really scary ground slam boost off of one of the flying fish to get to the highest one. So yeah, there's a lot going on there. Unfortunately, I had to orphan a couple of snacks just because it wasn't worthwhile time-wise. It's gonna be faster to back them up. Oops. Okay. So right here, gonna go up here, grab these snacks, and then there will be some bats right here. Oh, okay. Okay, no, that's good. So sometimes there will be bats there, and you can use the same sort of Jesus frames strat that I did in Post 3 in order to get a hidden box like behind that platform that I don't know how you're ever supposed to find casually. But this is kind of like we're all kind of building up right now, snacks-wise, to sort of the last major threshold, which is that big 850 gate that I was alluding to earlier. We're just
1 health.
800 flat, so yeah, and I'm also at 1 health for this next bit. Baz, do you want to explain cauldrons?
So there's so I messed it up there, but there is a way you can kind of jump through the bubbles, and we try to go for that because it saves about a second, and it can get you a faster cycle here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of tight. I think it's just a couple frame window that you have, and you have to do like a full jump. But here we can ground pound this button, and we can just get like a quick 9 snacks. and
Yeah,
sneak
just-
past the zombie.
Alright,
1位
so
の
that-
人
the
は
gauntlet
今
is
月
gonna go
14日
now,
に
so
更
just
新して今熱い
look
ゲー
for
ムそう
that
なんです
key
か
right there. Don't worry about it.
And the first part of the gauntlet here is Redbeard skip. So now in the ship levels, you
更新
fight
ラッシュが
Redbeard and give you a power up that would give you access to another area, but you skip that right there. Again, another huge chunk of the game skipped right there. And he's gonna do the same thing. A few more precise ledge jumps. The first try is very nice
Half
there.
that,
That is
let's
green
go!
boost.
After that,
おうおうおう
Let's
It's
go.
really
And-
good.
Not over yet.
これは床危なそうですね
so that's GGS. That's used to skip the Green Ghost, and it's the hardest trick in the any percent run. It
Oh,
kills most runs, and this is rail jump right here. So he's gonna take advantage of some more bad collision and jump straight up to there, hit the button, and we have one more skip to go before the 850 gate.
Yeah, so just backing up on snacks a little bit
めっちゃ
here.
噛みついて
So
ました
this
け
is
ど
just kind of one of those things where after doing it long enough, you kind of know what's going on here. Someone want to explain Bleedo skip? If you have time, so
なんかいきなり垂直に登って
Yeah,
る
so just jumping off some collisions at the back of the room, which you can't really see. But you can do that, run along the wall, jump off another collision in the wall, and that skips the lab levels. And that was actually the final snack gate right there, which we've been saving up for.
yeah. So now we don't need to worry about stacks anymore. So we're going to see our pal Shaggy, who keeps somehow mystically getting teleported around the world, even though we left him in.
すごいですね
not jail, I don't know.
850のスナックが
Anywho,
left him
he's gonna be
everywhere.
stuck
ぴったり
here.
なくなり
We
ました
actually
ね
used to have to do this as intended, but earlier this year, Runner named Sam found a way to skip this room, similar to the way that we do SES. Gonna hold up and to the left, and I just clip right through the door.
Are we gonna see Smashless?
Do I go for it? For the people? I'll go for it once.
Oh, yeah, one try.
おうおう
It, it looks very smooth.
Oh, we had
Yes.
it! No! Alright, that was
Okay,
my
so-
one time.
Oh, that was so sketch.
The platform there is like,
Yeah, you're supposed to get on the platform.
but well, normally there's another platform you jump to
壁抜け
first.
た
Or you normally just use the super smash, which gives you a little bit more
これは
airtime. But it's very tight, but you can do it without the super
うわー、
smash,
抜けた
and it's very
Come on,
it's
dude,
very
there we go.
difficult to get. It saves 1 second.
I only go for it when I'm behind, so I just figured why not go
Yeah.
for it for the people. While we were talking about that, I clicked into the mastermind fight by doing another 90-degree angle flip. Don't worry about it.
これもう終わりそうですね
But that lets us skip the first phase of the fight and a cutscene. So unfortunately, we don't get to hear the banger of the final boss theme. But now we're just gonna be we know exactly where these enemies are gonna spawn in every time. So we have a minute kind of set up so that we can bait the Funland robots into attacking the same way every time. Shoutouts to Komi, by the way. Sorry, that was mean. Inside joke. Okay. So anywho, after this, Mastermind's gonna make his way down to the arena, and what I have to do is ground pound on his head to stun him, and then helmet smash him into the lightning. And time ends once he gets electrified in the lightning fields in the back. So, okay, he can spawn in a bunch of different positions. That one's okay. This is probably just
Nastani Mastermind spawn?
No, Nastani's more on the right side. Alright,
Yeah,
get ready
so-
and time. Cool.
ああ GG
So for that boss, there are a couple like places you want. You
1位は24分39秒早いですねここからまだ1分縮まるん
That's
です
actually the only point of true RNG in the 90%
Yeah,
run.
and it's
It's
right
really
at
unfortunate.
the end. So by my count, that was a 25-42. So that's pretty dang good, including going for Smashless Acid and almost hitting it. So yeah, that was Scooby-Doo 9 of 100 Frights, everyone. We hope you all enjoyed that. Thank you, Baz and Snowy, for hopping on the mic with me last minute. Because I
アクション性が結構軽そう
Always
な
happy to
ゲ
like
ームだ
help
った
show
の
off this
で
game.
意外と面白そうな感じのゲームでしたね
Yeah, this game's awesome. It's a really great
有田でコメント被ってますけど
to get into speedrunning. It's really easy to pick up. It's on PS2, GameCube, and original Xbox. Don't play on 360 though, trust me. But
Snow.
Anywho, but yeah, seriously, like this game has a ton of resources for it, and everyone in the community is super nice and welcoming. I mean, like people will like sit down in a voice call with you to help you with distracts. Like it's one of those kinds of communities. Also, two more shoutouts. Shoutouts to Don Knotts, who's the voice actor of the groundskeeper right here, the absolute legend, and also Tim Curry, the voice of the final boss. Just some fun facts for y'all. But yeah, shout out to the whole Scooby community and to the Midwest Speed Fest.
いや、言われてみれば似て
Making
ま
this
すね。
happen, quite frankly. I'd also like to thank the people who are running the French-Japanese restreams as well. They put in a ton of work doing that, so I just wanted to shout them out as well. And yeah, Baz, Snowy, do you folks have anything else to say before we get to Scoob Step?
I'm just gonna say, if anyone is interested in running this game, we do have a Scooby Speedrun Discord server, which you can just find on this game's leaderboard on speedrun.com. It's basically a server for... this is like the more popular Scooby game, but we have a server for basically all Scooby speedrunning. So if you want to check this game out and like hang out with the community...
PSP titles.
Or he's watching Who DS.
Yeah, it's my favorite Scooby game.
I also want to specifically shout out Harsh, because he makes all the great tutorials for this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you learn this game, you are going to be watching a Harsh tutorial
Yeah, most likely.
at some point. And
Harsh
they're
is
very well put together. So
yeah, Harsh has made multiple very good tutorials. He does have 2 any % tutorials for a more beginner-friendly and a more advanced route. Again, another resource if you are interested in checking out this game.
What I don't get is how she got the professor
And yeah, and if also if you
and
feel free
there's
to reach
also
out.
a 100% tutorial that's
That is
5
also
hours
true,
long.
but Hundo is hard, so maybe start with a shorter category. But yeah, that's pretty much all we got. If we have time, we can listen to the credit spot. For some reason, the credits theme of this game, I like to call it Scoob Step. It just has like this, excellent.
そうですね。結構面白そうなゲームだったんですけど、
I don't know how else to explain it.
日本は未発売っぽいですね。
Yeah, that's pretty much all we got. So if we need to get Marathon back on schedule, that's totally fine. But
さすがに日本未発売となるとゲームのことを知っている方もまあいらっしゃらないと少ないと思いますし。
Later, but yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Go check out the rest of the event.
はい、お疲れ様でした。
Thank you so much, and thank you for having us. Take it easy.
スクービードゥナイトオブ100フライトでした。はい、じゃあ次は、ポケモンランブルですね。日本名は乱戦ポケモンスクランブル。はい。次のタイトルの準備しますので少々お待ちください。
And during that, we also had a $20 donation from Elf. No comment, but thank you very much for the support. The Pokemon Rumble run will be happening soon, so that means this is your absolute last chance to snipe the file letter for the save. B is still in the lead with $10, but A and C are only $5 behind, so if you want to snipe those, now's the time. Or you could contribute to the other Morrowind incentive. We met the any % bonus run, but player name is still up in the air. Dankoth is still in the lead with $50. Banjo-Kazooie is at $10, but you could still add your own name and try and,